listen, we deserve this player. We do. And this player deserves us also as a coaching staff. So, again, we're excited. We're excited. This is a good time for Detroit.
And there was a group of pass rushers at the top of this draft.
Yeah.
A lot of people saw them as a pretty close group. I'm just curious, what set Aiden apart for you as you took part in the evaluation process?
To me, here's the unique thing about all these guys is they were all different in some capacity. And they all had an attribute that you like, all right? But the one thing that we thought about Aiden, he's relentless. Obviously, he can get to the quarterback. Man, he plays the run really well. And, man, he is a Detroit Lion through and through. And that is no doubt about that player. And, again, that's why I say we deserve this player. This player deserves us also. I mean, it's just a true fit.
One of the real big bonuses, and obviously, the motor and the production and everything else, but it
Yeah.
seems like with his size and his skill set, he's got a lot of position versatility. Is that one of the things that really attracted you?
Yeah.
Him as well?
Well, you know what? With those first two picks, I think that was the one thing that every team saw in those guys. Obviously, he can play on the edge. All right, he's big enough to go inside on third down and play as a 3 technique. And when we're looking at this guy, I mean, the first thing I try to do with each player is, man, where can I play this player, and how can we get the best out of this player, and how can we make this player successful? And those are some of the things that we thought about. So, man, he's a tough, aggressive, violent, type of guy that we need. And obviously we could do a lot of things with this player. So, again, we're excited to have him.
I know he's his own man, but you've been around the league a while as a coach and a player. Does he remind you of any edge rushers you've been around stylistically?
Yes, he do. And I don't want to say who it is. So, but the thing is, he's his own man. He's his own man. So we're gonna let Aiden be Aiden.
Aaron, I had a chance to speak to Dan after you guys made the pick, and he indicated that you've been blowing him up a little bit recently, talking about Aiden. Can you just talk about how much
He didn't tell you that, did he?
He did. And it's going to be on TV in a little bit.
I think you're trying to pull something out of me.
Can
But
just-
you know what? I did. Man, I went back and watched his freshman tape. And I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but that's when he was playing the 3 technique for the most part. And so I'm texting Dan like, man, there's more versatility to this player than we probably give him credit for. So I make a cut up and just show it to him that he's played in that position. So now, man, these things are just spinning to me defensively. Man, how can I use this guy in other situations? And, those things showed up. So, as you know, I like the player a lot. We like the player a lot. Man, we're glad to have this player. We really are.
Can you talk about how this is a situation where maybe your board met a need that you had as a football team?
Yeah. Well, I would say this, and I'm a big believer in taking the best player available. But it's always good when that best player fits a need. And I think every team will say that, and every coach will say that. But I do believe in that, man. And he was one of the better players on our board, if not the best. So we picked the player that we wanted. And obviously we're going to continue to go through this draft. And whenever it's our pick again, whoever that best player is, that's who we'll select.
Going off of that a little bit, Aiden just told us that you were who he wanted to come to the entire process.
Yeah.
Part one of that, how does that make you feel as a staff that, out of the entire league, he wants to come to Detroit? And two, was he your guy the whole time as well?
Well, I would say this, and I've said it before. The first thing I said when I got up here, is we deserve this player. So I think that tells you exactly like how we feel about him. And he told you when I said he deserved us as coaches. So I'm not surprised that he said that. We had really good conversations with this player. I sat there and talked to him for about 45 minutes. And the crazy thing about that, we didn't talk football until the last 20 minutes. We just talked about life and, his goals and things like that outside of football. And the other crazy thing about this is his dad actually grew up in Houston, and we know some of the same people, so that was a good conversation there. That was me and his dad. So, man, it's a true fit. It's a really true fit. And, again, this is probably my 5th time saying that we're excited to have this player.
I think we talked about it with the secondary last year, just a bunch of young guys kind of growing together.
Yeah.
You kind of got that up front now with the 2 defensive tackles you drafted last year. Julian probably fits that mix. What is the benefit of having a young group that can bond and grow together as players?
Well, here's my thought when you have young players is, man, you can mold them. They're like clay. and you can turn them into whatever you want them to turn them to, especially if they're willing to listen like the players that we do have. You know, so he's going to fit right in with this group. We have a lot of hungry players, all right? You guys know that's going to play hard. And my goal, my motto for these guys we got to take the next step. And that's what it is. There's no turning back from us right now. I mean, the honeymoon phase is over for us defensively. I know that. And I'm going to challenge those guys every day to make sure they understand that.
When you talk about that versatility, do you have something in your mind in terms of how you want to use him or where you can play him? And
There's a lot of things that go through my mind. I'm not going to tell you that. You'll see it. You'll see it. But I tell you what, man, it's going to be explosive and it's going to be fun to watch.
do you think he can play some? You mentioned the free tech. Do you think he can play some inside for you?
Inside, outside, he can play with his hand down. He can stand up. I mean, there's a lot of things this player can do, and he's shown that at Michigan. So, again, I mean, we're going to put this player in the best position to make sure he's successful for us.
By chance, was Aiden a prospect that was featured in the Lions video talking about Coach Campbell and the culture and the commitment to the players?
I'm not going to tell you that. But he was one of the guys that I talked to for a long time.
What questions did you have about him as a prospect you kind of answered for yourself along the way?
You know what? Obviously, the questions of arm length, the question of athleticism, and all those questions were answered. You know, the thing is, man, he is so violent as a player. Sometimes that when you have 32 arms, it's overrated, in my opinion. You're talking about this. That's what we're talking about, you know, and people make such a huge deal out of it. So there's nothing that this player didn't answer, right, as far as the questions that we had going through the SIP process. So, man, he is a guy, and then we haven't even talked about the character of the player. I mean, that right there just stands out more than anything of who he is and what he's about. I mean, that's really icing on the cake of being the player, you know. So he's going to come in, he's going to change the dynamic of this team just by his presence and the way he plays. So he's a true fit in every way that we need a player.
Doing more four men front this upcoming year. I'm just wondering, by adding Aiden Hutchinson, is there could you change, I guess, your plan going forward? Because you say you always kind of build towards a
Well, listen, I think that's a little overrated too, because when you look at us as a defense, 75% of the time we was in sub packages, which is a 4-down front. So we're gonna be who we are.
Thank you.
All good? All right, fellas.
Let's show us.